Father God, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. We know that your hand is at play here, and you brought Shane and I together 4 or 5 years ago, most likely leading up to this opportunity and a vision you had in mind. We just ask, Father, that you dwell deep in us and bring your presence into this room today and help us speak your truth and glorify your name through the testimonies and stories that you had planned for our lives. And we thank you for the opportunity, Father. We thank you for the relationship. And we ultimately are nothing and can do nothing without you. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Guys, Mr. John Costello himself.
Oh, gee, here we go.
I mean, seriously, though, from 2021 meeting and left a spiritual-led vision to leave to a highly respectful real estate firm,
Mm-hmm.
Costello Real Estate and Investments.
Mm-hmm.
This is John Costello.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm so honored for your time.
Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you for letting me be here.
I'm excited.
It's bigger than us.
It's so much bigger than us. So take me back, because I know that we know,
Sure.
and some people know, but I just want this recorded on it, on record. 2021, when we first, divinely connected.
Yeah, absolutely incredible moment, and one that was very impactful in my life and came really at the perfect moment. I guess the best way I can explain it for the audience to try to kind of understand and connect to is, at that point, I'm 43 years old now, so I was approaching 40 years old, and I felt like a deep pull of like just some emptiness inside of me and something that was missing, and I was never going to feel centered or peaceful inside, no matter what everyone else thought was going on in my world, until I resolved whatever that was inside of me. And it turns out that the only thing that was going to fill those voids, since I chased and achieved just about anything you could be blessed with and asked for on this earth, and still feeling like the most broken person in the room in my soul, I was just at that crossroads. And the nature of my role, and at the time CEO of Costello Real Estate Investments, and it was one of the fastest growing firms in North and South Carolina, and really had all I can handle, feeling quite overwhelmed, and at times almost like, man, did I bite off more than I can chew? My role at the time really, I wore a lot of hats, but really primarily was to grow the company. And for me, the best way to grow the company was to meet with and connect with as many agents as possible and share the vision I had for the firm, but also just get to know them and kind of what they feel the gaps are in the industry and their business and the places they do business at, and ultimately just really listen and use those opportunities as a positive, no matter what, to either A, build a better firm through the feedback and just seeing trends of what the agents need out there and what they're seeking and what's missing. And then hopefully those that I really connect with, that like kind of believe in the vision and want to be a part of it, would want to join. And then we can grow the company and impact from that standpoint. But if I'm being honest, like, just the nature of this business, it's quite transactional, and we all have goals and sales pressures, and no one knows where their next check's coming from. And it can be quite, intense for realtors that I think a lot in the public don't understand. I just think they see the success stories and versus the fear and anxiety all of us have to get over to just keep going and have faith that, we'll have opportunities to serve people and be able to provide and pay our bills and whatnot. But just the nature of the business, and really the agent was interviewing me and trying to decide. They might be interviewing with 10 firms and they're trying to make a business decision. The agent pays the firm their commission, and the firm gets a piece of it for adding much value as possible. So from that standpoint, I really always felt like I was the agent's employee. That's just how I felt on the inside. And through that, you do that 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 times, sometimes 8, 10, 12, at times 15 meetings in a day with agents. That's how busy it got, and how people, at least at a minimum, were curious enough to check it out. It can be kind of a grind you do that over several years, and it can feel very transactional. And that was my day every day. And I wasn't feeling that great spiritually. So when you walked in, and I'll let you actually tell the story because they were your visions, and piece together what you had experienced and what you felt walking into that meeting, kind of not even knowing why you were meeting with me and what caused you to do it. It just had such an impact on me, and I had such a connection to it and felt different than the other platform reviews, to be honest, just because it was, I don't even know if we hardly talked about real estate. It was all just life and spirituality. And it really was the perfect thing to launch me and like get me going on like another nudge from God, kind of like, just go to work. You know what you got to do. Seek it and you will find. So I thank you for that, because that was a huge moment in my life. But I'll let you share.
I mean, it's wild, moving to Charlotte to start completely over in real estate, which real estate is a grind no matter what, but to start over after 8 years and brand new city and like, where am I going to go? Yeah. And to be in that office that day, I mean, John, actually, my phone, I'll have to get my phone. I have the picture of us. I still have it. I meant to send it to you, but I was like, no, I'm going to do it on the podcast and just show him the picture. That morning, to pray and see two very distinct, visions, one of feet in the water, of an ocean, a shoreline. It was very specific, a shoreline. And then the other, the black and white welcome sign. And guys, I didn't know what that even meant. And I think a lot of times people, you can have visions or hear things or feel things, and you don't know at what point that's actually going to come into play. And so, although I had made a video that morning, it was more of just like, let's see if something comes about, because I was praying, God, what firm do you want me at? Where am I connected well beyond real estate, but where do you want me? And so, going into that meeting, I had made the video about the two signs, boom, walk into the office. I had not seen anything up until that point. And I remember Roy said, don't just wait for something to be so obvious. Go with what feels right. And after we had, conversed about all the Costello stuff, it was that moment where I was like, John, I'm going to go through with it. And I remember you saying, wait, you don't want to think about it? Come back tomorrow. And I'm like, no, because Roy said if it feels right, and something just felt right. And at that point, when I decided to go with faith of what felt right, that is when I looked to the left of the poster, the concert poster, or whatever event was going on.
It was a simplified poster, yeah.
Had been there the whole time. Had been there the entire meeting, but I didn't see it until after that first confirmation that this was where I felt called. And then obviously I showed John, I was like, you're going to think I'm crazy. I need you to watch this video.
Yeah, you recorded a video, I remember.
The first video was, hey, I seen a black and white welcome sign that said Shayna.
This is before we met.
This is before.
Before you even walked in the office.
Before anything. And so to walk in and pass the black and white welcome Shayna Harris, because I didn't even see it, just like I didn't see the poster in your office that day, up until, okay, I took the leap to say this is it. That's when the confirmations, you know what I mean? Like God's like, all right, now I can show you that you made the right decision, because you went off faith and that subtle, quiet stillness that this is where I'm supposed to be. I really feel that that's what happened that day. But to come across and say, look at this crazy video, please don't think I'm crazy. Boom, there's a welcome sign. And you're like, wait, did you even see the welcome sign? And I'm like, what welcome sign? And sure enough.
You missed it. Yeah, you missed it.
I've got the photo, guys. I'll have to get it to Kindle. Yeah, we can zoom in. I've got the welcome sign with me and John, 2021, of a vision, having no idea, what that even meant. But side note, boom. Yeah, I have to show you this. We'll have to zoom in.
It's so crazy.
Ain't that wild?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have the poster with the feet or no?
I didn't get the poster.
Okay.
I only got this one.
That's okay.
But all in all, those subtle, still voices or inclinations that this is right, even though, you don't know why or anything like that. How do you discern? I mean, because in that moment, after I showed you the visions, I remember you saying, I don't ever do this. Close the door. We closed the door and it was just God, just spirit.
Yeah.
And you told me just a glimpse of your story of leaving what everyone else can think is success, leaving, oh my gosh, this piece of an industry, having no real estate experience, but you left it.
Yeah.
Where was a moment? Did you see something? Did you hear something to leave what most people either A, couldn't or wouldn't or have the courage to do, but you did it? What was the moment that you knew, I need to start a real estate firm? I need to
Wow.
set a difference.
That's such
Can you go back to that moment?
I can, yeah, but it's a loaded question because I want to also add, before we met, like I said earlier, I felt the need to do a spiritual journey that can be quite scary. So I believed, but everyone can say I believe. I didn't really know God. I didn't really invest the time in that relationship to let him truly speak to me with clarity. But he would always talk to me and I would have these energies, and sometimes I made it harder on myself than I needed to. So I want to start there, that I hadn't even had that connection with God yet before we met. So I didn't have it when I was starting a real estate company.
Okay.
But I was always a person that felt energy in ways that I cannot explain. And feeling that energy at times was a blessing, and sometimes it was a curse. So when it comes to starting the real estate company, yeah, you're 100% right. It was insane. It made no sense. I would advise anybody, where if you have someone you do not invest unless like God literally tells you to invest, like don't do it, because it was just, it just made no sense why I would do that, because I was making 7 figures in my corporate job, basically in my upper 20s going into 30. I was a top producer in a $13 billion private health company where all the top brass and executives who I looked up to and respect, like literally when I told them I was going to do this, like thought there may be something wrong with my brain. Like, you hit the corporate lottery. We don't ask a whole lot of you. Like, you do what you want when you want, and you're going to go start a real estate company and you don't have any real estate experience. So that's where you're kind of tested to trust that inner voice, because it's like, and I'll be honest with the audience, like I talked a big game before I left that job, a big game. I told everyone like, I'm going to do this and it's going to be successful. All the people I have relationships with, and I feel it, I believe it. I know it makes no sense, but it's going to work. I just think it's something I got to do. And I spoke that because I put a long notice and had customers all over the country. And I spoke a big game up until the last day I had to walk out that door. And I remember in my corporate office, I closed the door and I bawled my eyes out in fear, because of like, oh my gosh, this is real. You're really about to do this. Once you drive away, you just can't come back and ask for your business and all your accounts and everything you've built. I knew I'd probably be allowed to come back, but I'm giving up a golden lottery ticket, and generation in my family, no one in my family seen money-wise, at least. And maybe even recognition-wise, who knows? I was blessed a lot and chose to give that up. But that last day, I closed the door, bawled my eyes out, was scared to death. I remember shaking on my way out of the parking lot, and I just trusted it. And I think that's where faith comes in. And even though I didn't connect it to my direct relationship with God at the time, I felt it was just something I had to do, and I'd be okay no matter what. So I would just encourage people that when you really feel it, don't do anything reckless. Don't do anything that puts your family in jeopardy. Like, I had set things up, never moved out of our starter home. Any extra money I made, we bought income producing assets. We never leveled up our expenses as we did better in life. So all that played into me being able to take a risk, but I was doing it with my own cash, and starting a real estate firm with the way I wanted to grow with your own cash is a super risky thing. And I felt the fear, but I just kept going and had the faith in it. Now, I will say it would have been a lot more peaceful journey and a lot easier, and I probably would have suffered a lot less personally in my private moments building it if I had that relationship up front. So, but it's kind of like, it's always there for us if we want it, and we're all entitled to it, but sometimes he has to break us to go all in on it, and that's what happened to me.
And you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, we can hear things our whole life, and then when you start developing a relationship spiritually, then that's when you're like, okay, because here I was, walking into, I had just moved cities because of visions.
Yeah, you were in a crazy spot too.
I was in a crazy obese, like, I'm just moving and saying goodbye to everything.
And you were a top producer in Nashville, I remember.
Yeah. To leave, again, similar to you, like leaving all that you built just because of a vision or an inclination of your soul.
Yeah, it was a soulful thing that I didn't know where it was coming from. I just trusted it. But again, man, I suffered in it. So like I've never been afraid to take the risks, but it doesn't mean I didn't suffer in it that led to brokenness.
Right. So back to, because you just said at the beginning, you know, you can have what the world labels as it all, or all that you could succeed at, or goals and all of this, but to still feel empty and be vulnerable enough to know that just materials or resources isn't what's going to feed your soul.
Yeah.
What do you feel like the courage to keep pushing through, to trust the inner voice when you don't know, it doesn't make sense on paper? Was it just the want to fill the void in the real estate space? Or where was that courage that kept you going? Because goodness knows the challenges.
Sure. I think it's two things. Because again, it wasn't completely connected to a faith of clarity anyway. So I had to go kind of what motivated me and got me through hard days from an earthly sense. For me, it was really two things. First and foremost, my family, my kids, right? Where it's like, you know, as we were getting going, I was funding at times commission checks out of my personal savings account, like, because the cash flow, like, it was unpredictable. You're investing, you don't know what's going to come in. You got to give agents time to get their business going. It's all a risk and investment. So there were definitely many, many sleepless nights where I'm staring at the ceiling saying, oh my gosh, did my ambition just potentially destroy my family? Is this, you know, and the fear of that embarrassment of making such a crazy decision when you're accountable to other people, even though I knew I'd always gonna be able, I set it up where they were always gonna be okay. So I wasn't like, again, I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything reckless, but that definitely, you just keep going. So whatever that source of drive is for you, once you make a decision that most people wouldn't make because you're doing it on faith and what you feel in your soul, expect hard days, expect hard things, expect to be refined in the process, right? But you got to connect to something that motivates you. So that was one for me. And then the second thing was I took it very, very seriously, which the whole winning together mindset came into play. That if an agent, whether it be one person or a million people, chose to believe in me and my vision and what we could do together in this industry and build something different, when I had no experience in real estate, I was self-funded. And to be quite frank, I had business and sales experience, but I was a salesperson. I was not like a big corporate leader with all this advanced managerial experience. Like, I was learning as I went. And when you factor all those things, and I was honest with agents, like, hey, if you ask me for real estate advice, you'll probably lose your license. Like, I have BICs, I have
We're going to hire these BICs now.
I have VIX coaches, like, we have things in place, but like, I'm here to help you from a life standpoint. I'm learning as much as I can about this business as I go. But if they chose to sign up and believe in me, it's something, a responsibility I took so seriously, which where all the whole winning together came into play, where I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to fail and then they look back and saying, how stupid was I to believe in this guy? That motivated me as well. So it's probably those two things that really just kept me pushing forward in those hard days where to be honest, I didn't know if we were going to make it. I just didn't know.
So
I believed I didn't know. You don't know until you're there.
Right. And making decisions out of faith and or anytime, like people think, oh, just because you've got the guidance or you had the spiritual intel or, it doesn't make it easy. My gosh, people think, oh, well, because, you're led to this, it's just going to be paved, and it's not. And I think that's where a lot of people with their spiritual walk or their inner guidance, we all have that power within us, but just because it's not going to be easy is not the reason to not do it. It's still guiding us to our highest and best self.
100%. And you don't do it, to your point, you don't do it expecting a result. If you do it expecting material and earthly things, you have a higher probability of failure.
Ooh.
You need to look at it as, I'm doing this because it's my heart. It's the kind of person I am. I want to grow as a person. I want to hit the highest and best potential in me. I want to, on my deathbed, look in the mirror and say, I left it all on the field. I have no regrets. The wins, the losses, I have no regrets. I maximize my potential. And if this thing works or doesn't work in an earthly financial sense, whatever people chase, if it doesn't work, I still know I'm supposed to do it. I still know it's going to lead to the next thing, because without this, I can't find the next thing. So without this trust here and give it everything I have, So sometimes I think people look at those things too deeply, and they might miss something that's better for them because they're afraid something is too risky and might fail.
Right. Instead of it's, it's not a foundation block, it's a stepping
Yeah,
stone, but you've got to
exactly.
be able to jump to it. Back to the winning together. Was there a moment, because goodness knows, Roy and I this year alone truly felt what that meant, after a Bible study and us being in a position. And if it was not for that winning together culture that you started from day
I
one,
did.
that personally impacted my family on those moments that we didn't know what to do.
Mm.
Where did those two words, hashtag winning together, like, did those words just come to you, or how did you know that culture was the ground base? Or was it truly because I don't know what I'm doing, but I have faith into doing it, and I want you to have faith to do this together? Was it that gap, just bridging it?
I think it was all the above. I think I truly felt in my heart that I am the employee of these agents. It's my job to serve them to the very best of my ability. I'll be honest, that got harder and harder to do. Once you start hitting 400 or 500 people and you're a family-owned business, that's
Mm-hmm.
difficult. We didn't have corporate backing and financial support and all that stuff. I can just hire a bunch of leaders and lose money for 3 years in a row, like some of our competitors can afford to do while they build. But yeah, I think it comes down to when you look at my resume or lack thereof, and how I was asking other human beings who have families to place their trust in me, that I will somehow, some way add value to their lives. And then you look at the nature of the industry where none of these firms are in business if it's not for the agents. The agents drive this industry. The firms that are fortunate enough to serve those agents because they have plenty of choices,
Mm-hmm.
I just believe it has to be winning together. I really believe it. And if I'm going to win, they have to win equally,
Mm.
at least equally. And I always tried to make decisions. So I always had that winning together near me because, when you're growing a company, all of a sudden you have 50 different things come at you. And I'm not the best multitasker. So I needed a point where it's like when I would be faced with hard decisions, where it's like, man, my earthly sense says this is a no-brainer, business wise to do this. But it doesn't align with winning together. I can't do it.
Mm.
That kept me focused. And guess what? I took a lot of losses. Um, uh, I invested in relationships that I didn't, I went all in on relationships that, ran its course because I couldn't maybe add value to them long term, and that's okay. Um, but I really viewed it from that standpoint where if it's like, if we're going to do this together and these people are going to believe in me when they really shouldn't, it's got to be equal winning, And honestly, when I'd be faced with a decision where it's like, man, this is gray. I see it in favor. I can make an argument for this, kind of 50-50. I can see an argument for the agent. I can see an argument for me. I always push it towards the agent and just have faith something else would come around that took care of us, and God would
Mm-hmm.
take care of it if
Mm-hmm.
that was in my heart. And it did. It did. Didn't mean it wasn't hard, but it did. And, that winning together kept me super focused when things got crazy
Mm.
and were maybe above my head.
I mean, the culture is still so evident in that, and I just love those words together. I love the culture that you set out, and I feel like you continue to achieve on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going back to just the standard of the agent is interviewing you, and not just in real estate. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's such a pivotal mindset and perspective shift to go into any interview and know that you are interviewing them just as much as they are interviewing you, because of the confidence, because a lot of people get nervous for interviews
Sure.
or whatever, but when you have a mindset that I need to also make sure that this is aligned, not just me going after that opportunity, but let me ask the questions and interview them for that is a huge, that's a change of trajectory of building anything or accepting anything. Um, so are there things in your mind when you are interviewing the agents, and not just within real estate, but that you can recommend if people are walking into interviews because of the job market, knowing that there's competitions and social media and all of this? Are there key things in an interview process where, whoever's being interviewed also needs to be asking these questions?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in preparation. I didn't really prepare for this because I wanted to just be organic and real. Because we have such a story that's real, we didn't really need to prepare. But in general, I think it's wise to prepare. I didn't always win in business because I was the most talented or hardest working. I do believe I prepare the most. And from an interview standpoint, to be more specific to your question, I recommend anybody when they're going to make a life decision such as that. Where am I going to spend most of my day and how I'm going to earn a living for my family? I really think it's important to try your very best to identify the soul of the company you're going to work for, because you can be very confused by the glitz and glamour and material things and shiny bells and whistles. They can really mix us all up and it never ends well. It might be fun and exciting for a moment, but something inside you will never feel right. So take the time up front, for example. Go on LinkedIn and look at the executive chain. Who are these people? Who's running this organization? What are they about? How are they? What's the fruit of their life? What are their reputations? What are their references? Do that up front and then bring questions to ask. Ask questions about, what makes the people that perform really well here? What are the characteristics in that? And what are the, low, average to lower performers? What are their characteristics in this organization? Then go a step further. Hey, if I come and join your organization, I want to go all in. I want to have total peace in my heart as I do it. Do you mind if I talk to a few of your people in the executive chain and lower ranks so I can just verify some of these things? Because you're going to be making an investment in me if I join, and it's something I'm going to be committed to and take seriously. So I just rather take our time up front so we can attack it together and feel great about it. Just those kind of things from a preparation standpoint, it's game changer. And not only that, not only will you as the candidate be more positioned to make a great decision for you in your life, you'll probably get the job because not many people are approaching it that way. And they'll be so wowed by your diligence and preparation and just your business acumen and your relationship skills that I really think you can't lose in that. It's like you have as a candidate all the leverage at that point, but people just want to run in all these interviews and just wing it. And it's kind of hard to feel where you're supposed to be if you're not centered in your soul that way.
Right. I mean, that asking those questions, it's already like, what? Nobody else is asking these. You're automatically going to be standing out. So take me back. I know that we, in the past have discussed moving a lot as a child, and of course within, spaces within the corporate world and within real estate and where you are now with the firm, there's been different roles and leadership and moving. What do you feel as you grew up moving projected within you and of course the course of your life?
Great question. I think it was huge for me, even if it was hard. And I wasn't like an army kid that had to move big. I mean, there's people that had it a million times worse than me. But I grew up in the New York City area. My family, my dad, my mom felt we needed to make a change as a family. So in the 8th grade, when everyone has all their friends situated 2 weeks before school started, they moved us to Northern Virginia, completely different environment. When all I knew was that New York City area, just outside of it. But like, there's just little things I remember, like that first day at school when I did not know one kid in the whole town. And I came into the cafeteria and I had my tray. And I remember the cafeteria, I could still see it like it's yesterday. The place was buzzing with energy. You can literally tell these people all grew up together and they had their cliques. And those are the defining moments in life, like sink or swim. I could have chose to sit in a corner by myself and be shy and embarrassed. Or I could have gone to, there was 3 or 4 kids sitting in a corner. I don't know why my attention went to them. I trusted it. And a couple of them are still my friends to this day.
Wow.
And we still, pray together and talk together. And it's like, you just don't know what can happen to a person when you step into those environments. And I'll bite off of my dad a little bit. My dad died in a car accident a few years ago in the middle of my spiritual journey, right in the middle of it. And he was undoubtedly my idol, and maybe to the fault that was blocking my relationship with God in some ways, because I idolized him so much. But he always said, John, you should hope and pray your kids have hard things. You should hope and pray your kids have to navigate change. And it was, he was he was great with people, crazy in a lot of ways, but like there was like 8 to 10 things he would just say on repeat that are the wisest words that ring in my head, that's just from his life experience that he would always just say over and over, almost like he had a sickness. He just repeated over and over. But one of them was, obstacles don't block the path, they are the path. So if you can go through that, where if maybe it happens to you by life, view it as a blessing and go all in on it. And if it hasn't happened to you by choice, if you really want to test your mettle and if you really want to know who you are as a person, make it happen. Change, move. Don't be afraid of the unknown. There's a huge world out there. And if you go experience stuff and put yourself in uncomfortable situations and find the blessings and growth in it. And if you do that enough times, you're unstoppable.
The kid one hit me because it's hard, but as a parent, and even now as you're a parent and was listening to that as a child, you want them to go through hard things. I mean, that is a hard thing to say out loud. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like, we aren't going to be there forever along the way in all these moments. That cafeteria, Dad wasn't there. So you had to make that energy choice of a solo or let's just go meet and greet, 100%. But that is a powerful, powerful thing. And I
can understand what you're saying. Parents are more apt to want to protect their kids, especially mothers. Mm-hmm. I don't want my kids to go through hard things. And I understand that. But when there are opportunities for growth and parents can see the bigger picture and then talk to their kids about how it's going to be good for them and they need to trust you and you're going to be with them no matter what, it's okay. And you bring faith in it all together. It's going to make some pretty powerful and competitive adults in the end.
So good. I know I was with Costello when the unexpected news came about your dad.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Because we all have grieved of a loss in different forms, ways, reasons. What do you feel that you learned as a soul, a living soul, and how hard grief is, whether it's a person or a job loss or whatever it could be that could relate? What do you feel grief taught you in that season?
Taught me a lot, because it was by far the toughest tragedy of my life, and I was very blessed. I mean, 3 of my 4 grandparents are still alive to this day. So I've been very blessed from that standpoint and I almost felt like it was coming, because it went so well for me for so long, and so many people have had it so much worse. So that perspective and knowing helped, and it's just my time. And I also I knew my dad. I studied my dad, and I knew his struggles and demons inside. And, I just thank God that I started, and he brought people in my life like you that kind of inspired me to go deeper on the spiritual stuff. This really happened to this lady. And it's there for you too, but you're not going to know until you trust it to do the work. Yeah, so I'm bringing Dad home in my book bag in a box. My mother home in a wheelchair, broken emotionally, physically, in every sense. Just watched her husband take his last breath in that vehicle. And because I started my spiritual journey just in time, I had enough peace to get through it. Because if I hadn't, and how I was feeling on the inside, if I hadn't started that journey and started to realize there's a much, much bigger picture at play here, it could have broke me. My own mother thought it was going to break me because she knew I wasn't doing well. Mm-hmm. Your mother always knows. So, when that happened, I had peace and I was able to connect the dots. And I also believe, and this might be controversial, but I don't believe a man can be the highest and best version of himself until the most influential earthly person in his life is gone. And for me, that was my dad. And I'm sure everyone's story is different. For some, it might be a friend, an uncle, whatever. But I think it's a real thing. And it forced me to step up in ways that he would have probably handled, and, kind of pick up where he left off. And, I'm John Thomas Costello III. And there's only girls. I only had girls. So it's more than likely going to end with me if I had to guess. And I just think it's part of the legacy and story that had to be. And I feel total peace with it. And I know I'll be with him again, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Were there resources outside of your mother and obviously the number one support that you guys could create together? Are there resources or things that you felt were pivotal in your moments of grief that could help someone who is grieving right now?
Sure. Well, for me, my spiritual journey is I knew I was seeking a peace that I was never going to find on earth because I've chased everything there is to chase and achieved. But I knew God was the only way, and I didn't have the relationship I needed to have because I didn't put the time in, not because I wasn't entitled to it, because we all are,
Mm-hmm.
but I just didn't invest the time. So I just knew I needed to go on a spiritual journey. I didn't know what that was, but I did everything and anything you can think of, even in my brokenness, even in some poor choices. Um, but God knew my heart, and God knew I was truly seeking Him, and didn't really know how to go about it, but He saw my sincere effort. You name it, there's all kinds of things, spiritual retreats, going to be alone in the woods, picking up hobbies like hiking that I never was even in. I never even wanted to go outside before. Now I'm obsessed with nature. Like, it's the craziest thing. I started watching The Chosen on Amazon. I started praying, even though I didn't really know how to yet, because it was never modeled for me and it wasn't taught. I just didn't know how to do it, but I just started, talking to God like you and I are chatting right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I didn't overcomplicate it. Just, and I think I want to encourage people, because if you're truly seeking that, but you don't know what to do, but you know what you want, it doesn't really matter what you do. You could be doing bad things even, but you can't hide your heart from God.
Mm.
So if in your heart, He believes your intentions are good, even in your brokenness, even in your pain, even in your struggles, He will lead you where you need to go. And it's so perfect because there's so many ways to find, I believe all the paths and roads lead to one source. And for me, that's Jesus. But, I believe that answer will come in time, and God is so good that if your heart's true, He'll just bring you to it. But, if I can say anything, as hard as it gets, no matter how long it takes, do not quit, because without that, you really have nothing in the end.
So good. So good. And I love the humbling moment of saying that until you have lost that influential person. And I don't know if it's just a male thing, because
Mm.
I lost my mamaw in 2011, who had helped raise me, who had put food on the table and clothes on our back when my mother, single mom working 3 jobs. And I was fortunate enough to be there by her side when she took her last breath. Me and Roy were. But the brokenness that my flesh felt was battling my spiritual self, knowing how beautiful it was to watch her take that last breath and call for her mother.
Wow.
Because she saw something that none of us could see, and she was reaching for something that none of us could see. But I was there to witness that. And I was broken for a while, panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to quit college. My Dr. Vogler said, nope, I'm not letting you drop out because you'll never come back. And my mama, nobody had graduated yet, and so to be junior year wanting to quit because it's having those people that's supposed to be there for everything. And when that person is stripped out of your life, it was a spiritual thing for me too, because who I had looked up to and who's woven a part of who Shayna is, I now had to pick up the pieces. And the following year, she had told me when she was laying there sick, something's going to come and take my place. And there's nobody that could take my mama or your father's place. But in the following year, God allowed Journey to be born on my mama's birthday. She came 11 days early and was born on my mama's birthday. And I remember laughing because I'm like, oh, mama, no, Journey's not going to take your place. Yeah. But my goodness, it's going to be that same spitfire stubbornness that I know you are, because you're going to come back. But now it's like the way I look at life, I had to man up.
Yeah, I bet.
Because although I've always been very independent, she was such a core of creating, and now that's gone. And who's going to create that next version? And who's going to step in the role of helping my mom and helping my children and being that, the structure, but we're going to do crafts and make cookies tomorrow. Like, I've had to pick up that. And I think when people lose that influential person, no matter gender. My God, you've got to step up
I
big,
believe it.
and it shapes you.
I believe it.
It truly does shape you. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
I've never looked at how losing an influential person can be.
And can level you up.
Oh my God.
With the right perspective.
Because
and they're always with you.
Because my mama, honey, if I would have been out there, honey, just come on. I've got garden pick stuff for you to take back and just eat here and stay here. But when it's gone, now I've got to figure out how to level up so that I can be that for somebody else.
It's beautiful.
That's great. Keep on going. You know, the grief is the sorrows may last, but joy will come in the morning, and it may be a long period of a lot of mornings.
Game changer for me, and I never had it for 40 years. As I was growing through these hard things and worked on my spirituality, I slowly was becoming grateful for hard things. And because you can see what's happening in it, and you can see where you're stuck, and you can literally feel yourself becoming unstuck. And when you position it from that standpoint, you have that level of trust in what God's trying to do in your life, and you see the good in it that way. I think that's when the spiritual dimension lights up. I really do.
It is two totally different worlds to be living when hard things are going, when you don't have that piece of being like, what are we learning today?
Yeah.
How are we getting through this today? What miracles are happening today? I mean, the perspective and opportunities that literally flow out of that mindset versus a scarcity, scared, and a human flesh. Because we're so, the chasing word. Baby, I'm going to go get her. Let's go. Let's chase.
Everything the earth taught us.
But when you just kind of find that resting space.
And I don't want to mislead the audience. I'm not immune to like anxiety. I'm not immune to sadness. I'm not immune to like feeling depressed at times. I still deal with these things. I recover 1,000,000 times faster than I used to. And I don't do toxic things that I used to do to try to fill that hurt. But I don't have fear anymore. I don't fear hard things. I know it will be for me. And when you can start kind of looking at life that way, life stops happening to you. And it's just a much more peaceful, exciting, and mysterious way to look at life. And it took me 40 years, really 40 years plus to find that.
And I'm going to say this because this was last week. The enemy wanted me to really cancel this for this week. I was struggling this whole day.
Wow.
I was struggling, John. I know there is purpose and why I wanted and why God has called me to do this and start this, but it doesn't leave, the questions or the time and the energy and all the things, the coordination.
Sure.
But in those moments, I feel like there's two versions of Shayna, right? I can see Shayna consumed with fear, consumed, and I'm just like all I see is my bubble. But when I'm able to get out of the 3 or 4 day of darkness, of just battling and trying to pivot one thought to the next, pivot that thought to the next, and when you're finally out of it, when you have that piece of guidance and God and spirituality of the soul being of our person, you're not just consumed in this bubble anymore. You're going through the hardness, you're going through the sadness, but you're able to step over here and look at you over here and know like this ain't gonna last forever. Know, okay, I can see how this is shifting me. I can see what I've learned. Like that is a huge difference right there, to be on the outside looking in versus only consumed with what's going on.
Right.
And I feel like right now, even in the real estate industry right now, when I go back 13, 14 years when I was just getting licensed and me creating an Instagram and people are like, that is crazy, like how consumed people get of this glorious, glamorous, beautiful house. And baby, they don't even know that we didn't have a paycheck for 4 months. They didn't know 8 deals closing at that closing 2 days before closing. They don't know, how am I going to feed my family? And it wasn't because we didn't do things or navigate or negotiate to get to that point. God just was like, no, baby, I'm telling you, it's time to get out of that community. How much more can I But in the middle of that thickness, in the middle, when you're in those middle moments, what advice do you have to someone? Because we're all in the middle. Even if we're on an uphill climb to the mountain, that middle is there. And when you get to that top of the mountain, that's going to come with its own responsibilities and its own situations too. We're always in the middle of the now and the next, and we can't get too far in the next because you got to be in the present now. But all these moments of the middle that is grimy and hard, and you don't know one day to the next, one moment to the next. You don't even know how you don't even know how to express your feelings. Like that's how I feel sometimes. This is me last week. And why? I've been so excited. And then 3 days, and it was like,
you don't want this.
Who are you? You didn't come from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What? You ain't got nothing to say.
Because he can't create anything. All he can do is manipulate our minds.
The minds, the middle of our minds.
Yep. So what do I do? What do I recommend? Loaded question. I don't know if I can give a good one right now, but I'll try.
Because even me, when you said nature to me goes unnoticed every single day.
Oh, it's such a shame. I never appreciated it for 1 second in my life until I found my spirituality, and it's
a game changer.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, to try to answer your question, just speaking, trying to think back to my path and journey. Expect those moments. Expect to be attacked, especially if you're headed towards a higher calling of your highest and best self that was intended for you all along, that got corrupted somewhere along the way. That happens to all of us in some way, shape, or form, in my opinion. And you make that courageous choice to go, and you might start out hot, this is going great, and I feel empowered, this is exciting, and just expect that roadblock to happen. That's when you got to go deep. That's when you got to isolate. I believe the best way, for me anyway, the best way is to block out the noise. Block out the noise. Go. I don't care if you have to go camping in the woods by yourself for 2 days. Be safe, be smart, but find a way to create that time where you block out anyone and everything, including your own family. Because if you believe in the scriptures, we are told to go be alone with God. And there's so much stuff going on the earth to keep us distracted that those are the tests that's it can get us off, because whatever's going on spiritually from the other side does not want you to get to where you're headed. And it's threatening, because if you reach that top, damn, I lost one. Now they're going to bring more with them. So I think you got to create that alone space, explain it to your family and spouse and business partners and employers. And I need to do this for me. If companies can go support people going through substance issues and can't fire them, you should be able to go to that company. I have a spiritual issue inside that's preventing me. I need a couple days, and I just need your understanding and grace on it. Your family, same thing. Connect to them. Tell them what your journey, even if you don't have the answers, that's okay. And just go pray, seek, talk to God. And if you do it in earnest and create that space, whether you have 1 hour or 1 week of free time, God knows what you have to work with and will show up in the time that you have to give. But just whatever that time allotment is, give as much as you can of it within reason, because you have responsibilities and bills and everything else. But just go all in on it and seek answers in humility, not in ego, not in wanting anything, just wanting truth. And I will basically guarantee you that it'll be just enough strength to keep going, because something will come your way. Some sign, some vision, some inner peace, some energy, something in nature will happen that you cannot explain. That's just, you just know for yourself, I'm never going to be able to explain this to anyone, but I know it's not from here. And I know I'm on the right path. I know I just need to keep going no matter how hard it gets, even if it means the worst. I know I got to do this, and God will take care of the rest.
Alone time. Be bold enough to take it and stop to take it, and be bold enough to ask for it. I think people are scared to be alone.
People are scared to be alone, and people find every excuse in the book not to, but we cannot hide our hearts. We can go spend an hour rather than watch that hour of reality TV or Instagram to kill the time. We all
know how quick it goes.
We all can get 1 less hour of sleep to give that time of focus. Whatever you have to give, just make sure it's true and real and honest, and it'll take care of itself.
I love that. Vulnerable honesty. So to wrap it up, knowing that father, business owner, all these things, how do you find rest, true rest? Because as a chaser and as a hungry, take over the world, we're going to achieve these goals. For me, at some point, I had found my rest was actually still working, but that ain't accurate rest.
Right.
How do you, outside of being alone, to give you that time? Are there other, habits or things that people really should hone into that will give them rest from the mental, from the physical? And of course, all of this is tied spiritual because all of our souls,
Yeah.
things are being said and whispered, and the life is just zooming and scrolling and glitzing, glimmer, and
Yeah.
how do people? They need a reset. They got to get alone. But what other practices?
Yeah, just create that time and space. And there's so many ways for us to find some moments of peace out there, and it's different for all of us. But whatever that is to you, if you already know what it is, find it and go deep spiritually in that thing that brings you peace along with it, because that's a gift to you. You got to connect those dots. And if you haven't found it yet, like me, I never found peace in anything. I probably, if I'm being honest, deep down inside, I didn't have peace one day in my life because there was just so much energies and ambition and brokenness and ego and pride or whatever, like circling inside of me. I never felt peace. So I didn't know. My problem was I didn't have anything. I didn't really like to golf. I didn't really like to fish. I'd go work out, hated it. I would do it anyway.
Right.
Like there was nothing. So I had to go do things and try things that were uncomfortable, that were unknown to me. And the example is nature and hiking and like wildlife and things like that I didn't expect to even be moderately interested in because I was chasing everything from a earthly brokenness standpoint. So that took a lot of intentionality. And I want to be honest with your audience that if you don't have something like that and you're willing to try things, you're going to have to more than likely try it more than once. I think people try something and oh, I don't feel anything, I quit. Mm-hmm. No, you got to keep trying. You give it its honest shake. Okay, you try something. This fishing's not really my thing. I hate it. Mm-hmm. Okay, did you try it 3 or 4 times? Now try the next thing. Just keep going. And that thing is there for you, but you have to be willing to seek it, find that place of peace, give it its time, understand how important it is to your life and journey, more than just the activity itself, and just do it. Just do it.
Now where you are in life now and knowing everything up until this point, what does leaving a legacy now mean to you? You had a great father role. Many cannot relate to that.
Yeah, so legacy. My definition of legacy before was more centered in like earthly things. I think, if I'm being honest, was more aligned with pride and the world I chose to create and decisions I made due to not really doing the internal work on myself. Now that I've gone through that process, and it'll probably be a lifelong journey if I had to guess, but now that I've done a good bit of it, I think legacy for me is just being known as someone that, his faith, ultimately I had to fight for it to find it. But once I found it, it's the most important thing in my life and the one thing I cannot live without. There's a lot of people I love and care for. I've been blessed with relationships and people brought into my life that I will never let go of, just because I know is from God, and I honor those people. But just someone that found his faith, realized the importance of it. From that day forward, once I found it, decided it was going to always be the number one priority in my life, and ultimately was willing to suffer for it as much as necessary because I found peace and trust. And I want to, through that, ideally, like if there's any bit of like wanting, it's to serve. And I'd like to, whenever my time is done, my fruit to be identifiable, and none of it seeking in things that I personally want or need, because I did that before and it led me nowhere but brokenness. So if my legacy's that at the end, and it's all in the glory and honor of my faith and my relationship with Jesus, then you know what? That would be something I could be very proud of.
Love it. Sacrifice for the peace of the faith. That's good. I'm just so grateful for your time.
I'm grateful too. Thank you, Shana.
Yeah. All right, guys. Mr. John Costello, the third.
Yeah.